Hi, guys, welcome back to another episode of a Not So Cute podcast. I am your host, Tiny-Winnet, and today we are going to be talking about nostalgia and what that means. So, nostalgia is basically this feeling of remembering your past and the things that you've experienced in the past with feeling or emotion behind it. And especially in an era where we're talking about maladaptive daydreaming, where you can start to make up scenarios in your head. And some of those scenarios may not necessarily be future scenarios. For I think it's common to discuss having future scenarios, building a whole world in your head, and um, how that has affected the mental health of a lot of people. But we are talking about maladaptive daydreaming. There's also maladaptive daydreaming where you're thinking about the past and the situations that have happened before, and you are basically rewriting the past to a point where you might actually believe that what's in your head actually happened. But today, no, we're not talking about that per se. We're just talking about remembering the past and it evoking feeling in you, and how beneficial or how you can go around looking at nostalgia. And nostalgia is really important. It's not something to be ashamed of. Being nostalgic is kind of cute, actually, when you think about especially as a young adult, you will find yourself, thinking of your glory days and, high school and in college. Uh, However, my advice before we begin is that normalize having nostalgia and keeping it in the past. Those were your glory days, and that's completely fine. But you can't keep talking about them like in my country, right? In Zimbabwe, Zimtalk. Is it Zimtalk? Twitter. Yeah. Um, the conversation of people talking about where they went in high school and whether it was a private school or a public school. It's always such an important conversation, and it becomes people's personalities. To be honest, nobody cares. Nostalgia is not that. It's reminiscing about the past, bringing comfort, joy, and valuable lessons. So grab a drinky drink and let's begin. Okay? I got my water, but I apologize for my voice. I've got a flu, so I'm not trying to not trying to do nothing too scary. So nostalgic moments that I remember obviously are a lot, depending on what kind of feeling I want to invoke. But usually, when I'm thinking about anything, basically, I create a journal. I've talked about this. I am fond of journaling, and when I was in high school, that was definitely where the. I'm so sorry. This plane overhead right now. There were lots of periods where I would journal almost every day. And when I would go through those journals, I can't help but laugh and smile and remember people. So I do recommend everybody keeping a journal, because not only does it help you reflect and track your progress and help you clear out your thoughts and all those important things, it also serves as a memory journal in the future when you then read all your past journals and think, oh my God, like this was the person I was at this stage, these were the people I played with, um, this is who I was at that particular time, and just reminiscing about it, man. Like, I want to start like scrapbooking, like taking pictures and putting them in the journals as well. I think it would be such a cute exercise, because I think about all the things that I want to share with my kids. I feel like if I have pictures, it's just way easier, right? The second thing is it helps you reconnect with old friends. That feeling of when you think about the friendships that you had in college or in high school, you think about the people who mattered to you the most during that time. And I just want to say that sometimes you get that feeling of, it's quite normal when you're no longer at the same school, you no longer have almost the same purpose, the same teachers. Um, you have nothing else in common. It's quite common to have that feeling. Um, but do not be afraid to reach out and reconnect with your old friends. Just pop in the DM and say hello. What's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is they don't open your DM, probably because they're busy and now adults. But if you are having this feeling of wanting to reconnect with your old friends, by all means, I say do it because it serves you more than you know. The third thing is you get to revisit your childhood hobbies. Sometimes we don't really cater to the inner child who lives inside. And when we go back to the things that we enjoyed and valued as kids, it just brings out just natural joy out of us. Like, I remember for me, talking to myself was a hobby. I would come home, I would be by myself from primary school, and I would just be talking. I'd be having fake interviews. I would be writing stories. I remember in my class, a bunch of us would like write actual stories and just pass them to each other to read. And when I started doing that again, obviously talking to myself in the form of a podcast, and now adding video editing and whatnot to the mix, and continuing with the habit of writing, it has brought me so much joy because those are the things that I genuinely always participated in, and now I get to enjoy, right? And it feeds my inner child. My inner child is never starving. She's just fed. She's fat. Okay? Surround yourself with moments. It's so easy to focus on being an adult with the responsibilities that you have to carry. And it is important for you to know the responsibilities and be accountable and pay your bills, pay your dues, go to work, etc., etc. But when you have those moments with you, they come with gratitude and joy and lightness that I think adulthood really seeps out of people. So I do recommend just revisit it, but just when you're doing those hobbies, when you are reading that journal, when you're creating the current scrapbook, you get to have that certain lightness with you. That just it doesn't make the responsibilities of adulthood any lighter, but it just gives you joy in that moment. And I think those tiny moments of joy, especially as an adult, are amazing, where you just don't think about those responsibilities for a minute, but be invoked with gratitude when you're thinking of the old you. Finally, share your stories, share them with your kids, share them with the people that you experienced it with. Sometimes you just have to pick up the phone and be like, you remember when we were kids and we did this? Especially when you're trying to reconnect with your old friends, sometimes that is how you get to reconnect with the people that you've lost touch with. Of course, we're not saying that you then have to talk about it like every time you meet them. All you do is talk about the past. You then also just have to move forward and start looking for new things to be like in common with. Is it? No, that does not sound right. But you get the gist. Like, you want things that you can say, we now have new things that we have in common. Um, so my question for the day is, how can we balance living in the present while enjoying nostalgic moments? I think everything that I was talking about, you can do all of those things in right now. Like, nothing stops you. And I think it just brings so much joy. And yeah, it can be like a random thing that you do. So yeah, that's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Um, and yeah, keep thriving, and always remember, it's not cute, but hey, you're doing it. Uh, so yeah, bye.